Shalom everybody, this is the origin of Christmas decorations, Asherah. Christmas tree custom, Baal and Asherah. The Sun King and his consort, the Great Mother, Queen of Heaven, aka Semiramis, Ishtar Easter, Nimrod's wife. Source, Mystery Babylon, Mother of Harlots. Stronghold, fertility teachings of Jezebel. Tree. What a Christmas tree really is a phallus. It is a male penis. The ornaments are testicles. The tinsel is semen. The hose thing that wraps around the tree is where it all began, the snake in a tree. The wreath is a woman's vagina. It's fertility and sex. The word Asherah is found at least 40 times in the Tanakh, or the Old Testament, and refers to a wooden object used in worship of a consort of Baal, known by the name of Asherah. The image of Asherah was a tree used by pagan Canaanites and Sidonians. One Sidonian was Isabel, who married Ahab, king of Israel. He was a Samaritan king. When northern Israel was dispersed into the nations by the Assyrians in 722 BCE, they carried this tree custom with them. Notice Deuteronomy chapter 7 verse 26. Do not bring a detestable thing into your house, or you, like it, will be set apart for destruction. Utterly abhor and detest it, for it is set apart for destruction. Look at the verses around Revelation chapter 2 verse 20. Yahuwah warned Israel to not erect an Asherah next to his altar, nor bring a detestable thing into your house. Though you may not remember what it represented long ago, Yahuwah has not forgotten. He does not change. He dispersed the northern tribes of Israel into the nations, and they have lived as pagans for over 2,700 years. They left Yahuwah's covenant, yet held fast to Asherim. That's plural for Asherah. Read Ezra chapter 4. The wreath ornaments. The wreath symbolizes the sun, and at the same time the womb. Both thought of as symbols of fertility to pagans. The sun was male, but his symbol was that of the female. The vertical tree was decorated with male symbols of fertility. The testes were the balls or the ornaments, yet was the image of the female connecting the heavens to the earth, and worshipped as Asherah, Astarte, Athena, Isis, Guy, Nana, Easter, Aphrodite, Ishtar, Diana, Venus, etc. This tree was named Asherah in the Hebrew scriptures, and her worship continued as we see recorded in the books of Acts, chapter 19. She is still worshipped today by Wiccans and other earth mother cults. The vernal equinox pointed to the impregnation of the earth mother, and the winter solstice pointed to the birth of Baal, the sun, with the human gestation cycle of 9 months. It was all about fertility and sex. The house of Israel would be kept in captivity for 390 years, but they still did not return to Torah. The penalty became sevenfold, or 2,730 years. Leviticus chapter 26. When this olive tree shows signs of blossoming again, Yahusha, the Mashiach, the Messiah, will return. He was born during Sukkot, not December 25th. December 25th, there's a list of sun gods that were born on December 25th. Google it. Asher is a Hebrew term meaning happy, and is a word used as a proper noun. The father of the tribe of Asher. This term was modified and became the word Asherah, a proper name used by pagans for the female consort of Baal, Celtic Bel. Baal Asherah worship is clearly seen during the time of Elijah or Eliyahu. when 450 prophets of Baal and 400 prophets of Asherah assembled at Mount Carmel, and Elijah, or Eliyahu, challenged them to decide whether Yahuwah is Elohim or Baal and his consort Asherah. We cannot serve both Yahuwah and Baal. 1 Kings chapter 18. What is an Asherah? You should Google this term. Answer. The adversary misled mankind with various fertility rites and receives worship through these rites, which is witchcraft. Yahuwah doesn't provide us with the details of the heathen rites, but we know generally from Scripture they perform their rituals in forests or groves. Look at Bohemian Grove. Look up Bohemian Grove. It's still happening to this day, where the world leaders do sick things. The word Asherah is often translated as groves. Scripture mentions how the Israelites would bring Asherim and put them near his temple, or Hekel. Behavior which we see inherited as the Christmas tree. The trees used were date palms. Modern witchcraft and Satanism, in general, follow most closely to the worship of Asherah. The name is most likely related to Ishtar, Artemis, worshipped by modern-day witches, as well as ancient Ephesians, Acts chapter 19, verse 28. That's also Easter, Ishtar. That's where we get the East. That's why they call it East. That's north, south, east, west. East is a prefix for Ishtar, or the same lady, same Nimrod's wife, mother, whatever. Stumps of trees found in groves were also used as the altars of Asherah, which may be directly related to the fallen Nimrod cut down by Shem. Images of Asherah can vary. The most insidious part is right out in the open and not occulted or hidden at all, the Christmas tree object. A more secretive side is also growing in popularity. Witchcraft is the most popular adversary went underground after the execution of Nimrod. Originally, they practiced their rebellion openly, but withdrew into secrecy to hide their worship behind symbolism, which could only be interpreted correctly by those initiated in the occult. One dominant pattern found in occultic behavior is the matrilinear mother goddess model. Rebellion against Yahuwah is accentuated by this matrilinear focus as opposed to the patrilinear. Astrologically, the moon is represented to be a female, or to be female. Although the original concept of Asherah worship has remained hidden from the general public, the acceptance of the solstice tree is drawn directly from the pagan worship, transformed for public consumption. The Asherim were also considered altars in themselves, where animals and humans were ritually sacrificed. The altar could take the form of a tree stump with the trunk snapped off, leaving jagged, spike-like splinters. The Christmas tree phenomenon is also called a type of altar where gifts and offerings are placed. Easter is another name for Ishtar, Astoreth, and Astarte. Tree worship is the most prominent feature. However, the serpent gets involved also. The adversary has the tree and the serpent imprinted into men's traditions. A serpent around a stump is one of the symbols we find used in ancient pagan religions. The tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil may be the sources this fallen being is borrowing from in the design of the false worship. We know it is forbidden to worship Yahuwah in any false, perverted manner. Rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and we certainly know that any involvement with Asherim is witchcraft. Some have suggested the symbol of the cross may have been a style of Asherah pole used by some pagans, and that it was brought into the mixed worship of Christianity. The Christmas tree is considered a Christian symbol, yet the common culture has no idea how it actually relates to anything associated with Yahuwah. Santa Claus is the ancient Moabite deity Molech. Ephesians chapter 5, verses 5 through 14. They used to take their little kids, and at the time of the winter solstice, the sun would stay still for 3 days. They would sacrifice, they would heat up this metal iron statue, and they would take their little children and offer them up as sacrifices and burn their children to death and kill them so that the sun would come back. That's where Molech, that's where we get the sitting on the lap of Santa Claus in the mall. We take our kids to sit on Molech's lap. That's where that tradition came from. Moving on. Ephesians chapter 5, verses 5 through 14. For of this you can be sure. No immoral, impure, or greedy person, such a man is an idolater, has any inheritance in the kingdom of Mashiach and of Elohim. Let no one deceive you with empty words, for because of such things Elua's wrath comes on those who are disobedient. Therefore do not be partners with them. For you were once in darkness, but now you are the light in the Master. Now you are light in the Master. Live as children of light, for the fruit of the light consists in all goodness, righteousness, and truth, and find out what pleases the Master. Have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. For it is shameful even to mention what the disobedient do in secret. But everything exposed by the light becomes visible, for it is light that makes everything visible. Have you opened your eyes to see it? Baal and Asherah compete with Yahuwah. 1 Kings chapter 18, verses 16 to 21. So Obadiah went to meet Ahab and told him, and Ahab went to meet Eliyahu, or Elijah. When he saw Elijah, he said to him, Is that you, you troubler of Yasharal, Israel? I have not made trouble for Israel. Eliyahu, Elijah, replied, But you and your father's family have, and you have abandoned Yahuwah's commands and have followed the Baals. Now summon the people from all over Israel to meet me on Mount Carmel, and bring the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah, who eat at Jezebel's table. So Ahab sent word throughout all Israel, and assembled the prophets on Mount Carmel. Eliyahu went before the people and said, How long will you waver between two opinions? If Yahuwah is Elohim, follow him. But if Baal is Elohim, follow him. Jeremiah, chapter 10, verses 1 through 5. Hear what Yahuwah says to you. Jeremiah. Hear what Yahuwah says to you, O house of Israel. This is what Yahuwah says. Do not learn the ways of the nations, or be terrified by signs in the sky. Though the nations are terrified by them, for the customs of the people are worthless. They cut down a tree out of the forest, and a craftsman shapes it with his chisel. They adorn it with silver and gold. He's talking about a Christmas tree. They fasten it with a hammer and nails so it doesn't topple. Like a scarecrow in a melon patch, their idols cannot speak. They must be carried because they cannot walk. Do not fear them. They can do no harm, nor can they do any good. Nowadays, an obelisk. We have an obelisk. There are obelisks everywhere. There's an obelisk in Washington, D.C. There's an obelisk. The very word obelisk means Baal's shaft or Baal's penis. That's what it is. It's Nimrod worship. Wherever there's an obelisk, they have one in St. Peter's Cathedral. They have one, the Eiffel Tower, right, in France. They have all over the place. Washington, D.C., the Vatican has one. That's declaring who the government represents. They worship sun worship, Satan worship. It's all the same. Wherever there's an obelisk, they're declaring to the public, this is a place of sun worship. Look it up. Deuteronomy chapter 12, verses 29 to 32. Yahuwah your Elohim will cut off before you the nations you are about to invade and dispossess. But when you have driven them out and settled in their land, and after they have been destroyed before you, be careful not to be ensnared by inquiring about their Elohim, their God, or mighty one, saying, how do these nations serve their Elohim, or Elohim? We do the same. You must not worship Yahuwah, your Elohim, in their way, because in worshiping their Elohim, they do all kinds of detestable things Yahuwah hates. That's worshiping in vanity. They even burn their sons and daughters in the fire as sacrifices to their gods, offered to Molech, the big fat red man, aka Santa Claus, Nicholas. That's exactly what it is. Children sit in his lap today where they were burned by fire in ancient times. Deuteronomy chapter 16 verses 21 to 22. Do not set up any wooden Asherah pole beside the altar you build to Yahuwah your Elohim. And do not erect a sacred stone, for these Yahuwah your Elohim hates. Asherah poles are a deal breaker with Yahuwah. Do not learn the ways of the heathen, and do not bring a detestable thing into your home. Schemes of the devil to worship the great mother. Revelation 2 calls such things the depths of Satan, or hidden tricks, and makes a specific mention of Isabel and her teaching. Read Psalms 80. When we use other pagan symbols of fertility, such as wreaths, symbols of a womb to pagans, or Easter eggs, such behavior offends our Maker. The Easter egg, the egg represents the sign of sex and fertility, and so does the rabbit. That's where the rabbit comes from. Hey, look, Nimrod married his wife and his mother, right? Nimrod was murdered, right? He was killed. Then, Semiramis claims that, he went up to the sun and became the sun god. And she came down on a moon egg. So she's from the moon and he's from the sun. And when he died, he came down and artificially inseminated her. And she gave birth to Tammuz, her son. And this is where all religion started. So this is what Easter is. This is the celebration of Easter. There's Ishtar, Easter, Statue of Liberty, Columbia Pictures. That's the same woman. And not to mention, look, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, winter solstice. 9 months later, the anti-Messiah is born. A birth of a sun god. I'm just saying. When we use other pagan symbols of fertility, such as wreaths, symbols of a womb to pagans, or Easter eggs, such behaviors offend our Master. When we teach these things to little children, causing them to stumble, we are doing exactly what our enemy wants. All popular customs represent institutionalized witchcraft, openly practiced without shame because of the ignorance that is in the people doing them. See Ephesians chapter 4:18. Asherah is Ishtar. It is Astarte. She is Easter. She's the mother goddess, which is ultimately Satan worship, sun worship. So it's time to make a stand what you're going to do. Are you going to continue to worship and celebrate the birth of the anti-Messiah on December 25th, which is, look it up. There's a list of let's see, Horus, Nimrod, Tammuz, the list goes on. Just Google sun god birth December 25th, and you'll see a whole list that'll come up. Anyway, I pray that this message gets through in the name of Yahusha. Shalom, everybody.